500 years ago, in a village called Hangzhou, a young snake catcher named Xuan saved a white snake in a young woman's form. Another 500 years passed, and the woman, Blanca, vowed to find his reincarnation, no matter where he was. Her sister, Verda, who did not support the idea of finding this man, warned her not to throw away everything they had worked for in pursuit of a man who might not even stay with her forever. Blanca acknowledged that humans are like dew, lasting only for a moment. That was precisely why she wished only to see him once more and thank him for his kindness. She promised her obsession would end if she could just meet her savior once again. Verda lightened the mood by splashing water on Blanca, and they giggled together at the Lantern Festival. There, Blanca accidentally dropped her hairpin, but luckily it was picked up by a young man named Xuan. He returned it to an already enchanted Blanca on the broken bridge. Just as they were beginning to get to know each other, a woman named Mrs. Wang called for Xuan's attention. He was also known as Dr. Xu. She complained that her son had been vomiting. After an examination, Dr. Xu diagnosed it as indigestion. Later, Blanca and Verda encountered Dr. Xu again. Blanca called it a coincidence, but Verda teased them, pointing out there were many paths they could have taken to avoid meeting again. During their conversation, Blanca learned that Dr. Xu lived with his brother-in-law after losing his sister 2 years earlier. Just as they continued speaking, another emergency arose and Dr. Xu was needed again. Time after time, each time he tried to talk to Blanca, he was pulled away by villagers needing medical help. A frustrated Blanca and Verda were angry that Dr. Xu didn't even have a moment of free time for himself. That night, as Dr. Xu found a quiet moment, he recalled his encounter with Blanca while playing his flute. Suddenly, Blanca and Verda appeared on a boat, Blanca again claiming it was a coincidence. When Uncle Boatman tried to take Dr. Xu away, saying his wife was ill, Blanca had had enough. She used her magic to knock him off the boat and seal his mouth. Now, free from interruptions, Blanca asked Dr. Xu to show her around Westlake as it was her first time in Hangzhou. Dr. Xu dropped off the cure for Uncle Boatman's wife, then joined Blanca and Verda on their boat. He began playing his flute. The tune sounded familiar, and Blanca joined in with a song. The next day, Dr. Xu walked through the village with Sheriff Li, Xu's brother-in-law. Sheriff Li complained about scammers in the village and suspected Blanca and Verda of scheming as their sudden appearance seemed suspicious. Xu defended them, insisting they were not after anything. Sheriff Li agreed they couldn't be after Xu's wealth because Xu had none. His sister's illness had left him in debt and he treated people for free. His only support was Sheriff Li. Even though Li was convinced they weren't after Xu's money, he was still upset that Xu had arranged a marriage without informing him. Xu comforted him, saying that once he met Blanca, he would surely like her. When Sheriff Li finally agreed to meet her, Xu revealed that they were at the House of Abundant Joy. Sheriff Li panicked. They owed the boss, Zhao, 300 taels of silver. They tried to sneak in unnoticed, but were caught. Sheriff Li met Verda and panicked, as though he had seen her before. Verda led the two to meet her sister, Blanca. During the meal, Sheriff Li tried to confirm whether Blanca understood Dr. Xu's financial struggles. Blanca reassured him whatever difficulties Xu faced, she would face them too, for better or worse. Just then, Boss Jiao stormed in, thrilled to see Sheriff Li and Dr. Xu, thinking they had come to repay the 300 taels. When he found out otherwise, he insulted Dr. Xu, prompting an angry reaction from Verda. Blanca calmed her down and paid the debt using her hair ornament. Xuan thanked her gratefully. Boss Jiao was extremely pleased. Verda went over to Sheriff Li and condemned him for not using his kung fu skills on Boss Jiao, but he said, debts must be repaid, including good deeds. He thanked Blanca for paying their debt and immediately gave his blessing. Back home, drunk and fulfilled, Sheriff Li approved of the match. Dr. Xu and Blanca got married. As part of their marital rites, they bound a part of their hair together to symbolize eternal love. Blanca buried the bound hair with her hairpin and had a flashback of when she was rescued by the mysterious man. She met her sister Verda again, who was surprised to see her so soon. Blanca told her she had vowed to be a devoted wife and abandon their magic arts. She asked Verda to forget the spirit world and live among humans, even if only for one lifetime. Verda didn't agree. The magic arts had been difficult to master. She wouldn't give them up easily. She tried to convince Blanca that with a little magic, they could have a nice house and jewelry. But Blanca disagreed, saying magic brought nothing but trouble. Verda was shocked that Blanca would give up immortality for Xuan, whom Blanca believed was the reincarnation of the man who saved her. Blanca lived as a mortal with her husband. Their home was filled with love, and they did everything together. One day, after returning from the Cold Water Festival, they found a crowd at their home. A woman had fallen ill and fainted. Dr. Shu treated her and brought her back to consciousness. The villagers asked about symptoms, fearing the illness was contagious. Dr. Shu explained that the epidemic had spread quickly. No clinic would help as no cure had been found. The remedy he used was expensive, made of rare herbs, beyond the reach of ordinary people. The pharmacist in town only cared about profit. Blanca was concerned and suggested opening a pharmacy, but they didn't have the capital. Dr. Shu added that Sheriff Li couldn't trace the origin of the strange plague. In the next scene, Blanca and Verda traveled together to investigate. Verda observed that the plague had moved in a straight line, from west to east, and didn't seem natural. She suspected someone was poisoning the city on purpose. They inspected the wells and found a foul smell indicating recent poisoning. At another well, they encountered a wandering Taoist selling pills that seemed to cure the disease. Blanca suspected him immediately. At the next well, they found it had also just been poisoned. Verda was now certain the traveling Taoist was responsible. The next morning, a large crowd gathered at the Taoist shop to seek the cure. Blanca was furious. The Taoist had poisoned the waters and now sold the antidote at a price. She wanted to use her powers to stop him, but Verda reminded her of her vow, not to use magic, even in emergencies. Verda assures her that she will take care of the Taoist. Blanca distracts the Taoist, warning him to stop his illegal business, as Verda takes his herbs and then some money. Blanca brings the herbs and money to Dr. Shu. He finds the herb unusual. Thanking Blanca for her help, he lets her know that they still need 100 taels of silver to open a pharmacy. Verda, who is listening in on their conversation, then decides to go rob the magistrate as they have lots of silver. She transforms into a green snake as she infiltrates the magistrate's office, stealing lots of valuables. The next day, Dr. Shu opens up his pharmacy. Although Blanca doesn't like the trouble Verda has just caused, she pleads that it should be the last time. But Verda doesn't promise anything. They decide to name the pharmacy the Hall of Protection. After hearing the name, Shu Sen has a little déjà vu. He suddenly remembers where he can find the herbs that will cure the people. The herbs could be found on a steep slope. Blanca goes with him as it's a dangerous climb. Unfortunately, while picking the herbs, Shu Shen falls. With no other option, Blanca uses her magic to save him, and they begin to fly. Shu Shen is surprised that they are able to fly, but Blanca quickly convinces him that the mountain gods have saved him because of his good heart. A grateful Shu Shen then vows to use the mountain herbs to save lives while Blanca watches in admiration. Sheriff Li is asked by the magistrate to solve the silver heist, but the case is difficult because he has no clue as to how the thief broke into the office. Just then, a monk called Fawn is sent to assist Sheriff Li in cracking the case. Sheriff Li explains the case to him, saying there have been no signs of previous break-ins. The monk uses his beads to summon his spirit animal, Goldie. Goldie begins to sniff the place for clues. Not wanting to be left out, Sheriff Li joins in the search. Goldie finds a bag of herbs with an inscription, Master of Midnight. The monk figures out that it is the rat demon and that this isn't a human crime. He then asks the sheriff to search the town for a Taoist with the name Master of Midnight. Sheriff Li visits Dr. Shu's pharmacy. He is happy to see that it had become an instant success. He had come there with other officers to see if the Master of Midnight would show up. The Taoist, on the other hand, promises to get back at the sisters for exposing him and even planting evidence at a crime scene. Sheriff Li goes on to congratulate Dr. Shu on his booming business. With no means to identify the thief, he decides to write a letter to Hangzhou's top opera troupe. Days later, a reply comes in. Sheriff Li shares this good news with Shu, Blanca, and Verda, saying he had organized an opera with Hangzhou's top troupe, Precious Jade Workshop, to celebrate the success of Hall of Protection. Blanca is taken aback by that name and doesn't subscribe to the idea. On the day of the performance, Blanca doesn't seem to be enjoying herself as much as the others. Verda quickly notices and asks what the problem could be. Blanca then reveals that the actress playing Red Maid is a demon, and she knows her from 500 years ago. After the ceremony, the Taoist, also known as the Rat Demon, meets up with Dr. Shu. He tells him that there is a dark aura in his house and demon spirits live with him. He hands Dr. Shu a talisman for protection. As Shu Shen gets home, Blanca is affected by the talisman. He rushes to check on her and tries to get rid of the talisman. Blanca distracts her husband while Verda uses magic to destroy the talisman. They are told that Shu Shen got the talisman from the Taoist, so Verda goes on to attack him.
Just as she chases after him, the monk and his spirit animal, Goldie, get hold of the rat demon, while Verda quickly hides. The monk tries to destroy the Taoist as the rat demon pleads, saying he had been framed. The monk refuses to listen, saying demons aren't supposed to exist in this part of the world. The rat demon quickly rats out Verda. Verda, on the other hand, tries to defend herself, but the monk is too strong for her. She manages to bite him before fleeing. The monk, seeing that so many evil spirits reside in Hangzhou, is determined to eradicate all of them. On the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, the monk casts a spell on the regular wine, as it would only affect demons. While Verda and Blanca celebrate with Sheriff Lee for winning the competition, he offers them the regular wine. Just as Blanca takes a drink, she starts feeling dizzy and then requests to go back home. On her way home, the spell becomes really terrible, and she falls into a pond. Dr. Shu goes back home to check on his sick wife, only to discover that no one is home. He hears a faint scream and is terrified. He goes to the river where his name is being called. Suddenly, Blanca appears as a giant white snake from beneath the river. Out of fear, Dr. Shu falls to the ground and faints. A worried Blanca transforms back to her human self as she seeks to revive her husband. She takes him to the Red Maid. The Red Maid lets Blanca know that demons and humans aren't meant to pair. However, the only way to save her husband is by going to Mountain Cone, a very dangerous place where she will have to find a fairy grass. The Red Maid brings out an incense burner, saying Blanca must bring the fairy grass before the incense burns, or else the road to come back will be cut off. She hands Blanca a sword as she casts a spell that will take her to the mountain. Blanca proceeds on her journey to Mountain Cone. There, she finds the fairy grass, but as soon as she takes it, the grass attacks her. Luckily, she's able to stop the attack. Just as she proceeds to leave, the Cone brothers, who are the guardian fairies of Mountain Cone, try to stop her. They find her to be a demon who had desecrated their mountain. They attack Blanca, but she's able to escape with the help of the Red Maid. The Red Maid uses the fairy grass to heal Dr. Shu, but he is expected to wake up a few days later as he is undergoing recovery. Shushen finally wakes up. He tells Blanca everything he had seen, but Blanca waves it off as a dream. He goes on to tell her about the giant snake, saying he's so sure about it. The next few days, Shushen refuses to come out in fear of the snake.
So Blanca and Verda come up with a plan to get rid of his fears. Blanca requests that Shu Shen take her to where he claims to have seen the snake. He brings her to the pond. There, Verda uses her magic to summon a snake. She uses it to tease Shu Shen and Sheriff Lee as they all run away for their lives. Just as the snake is about to eat up Shu Shen, Verda uses her sword to cut it in half. With the snake killed, Shu Shen's fears are all gone. The next morning, Sheriff Lee talks about Verda's bravery as he offers to find a perfect man for her. He has so many suitors lined up for her, but no one could match up with Verda. Just then, the monk comes in. He learns about the giant snake that was killed and offers to go see Verda. He is dressed in nice robes that Verda couldn't even recognize him as the monk, not until she sees the bite on his hand. She quickly escapes before he can make any move. This confirms her identity as the demon snake. The monk learns that her sister also felt dizzy after taking the regular wine, so he goes on to warn Dr. Shu Shen that demons are living with him. Shu Shen informs his wife about this, claiming the monk had asked to see her. She goes to meet the monk. He discovers that Blanca is also a demon, and then uses his powers to subdue her. Making her so weak, she transforms into a giant snake, revealing her demon identity to her husband. Seeing that the monk could destroy his wife, Shu Shen decides to save her by distracting the priest and stealing his golden bowl. An injured Blanca is able to escape. With their secret exposed, Verda goes on to look for her sister. Meanwhile, Shu Shen remembers the precious jade workshop and then goes to her for help. She offers to help him but warns that he might die in the process, as the only way to save Blanca is by attacking the beast's beast. He is given a flute to play with all his vital essence, as this is the only way to lure the beast back into the bowl. He must play loud enough to stop the attack. Although he might not survive it, he'd be able to save his wife.
A determined Shuen begins to play the flute with all his might. On the other hand, Verda is able to find her injured sister. Shushan finishes luring the beast inside the golden bowl. As he proceeds to go look for his wife, he is advised by a villager to flee town as the people are after him for harboring demons. Shushan takes the golden bowl to the Jishan temple where he meets the monk Fao Hen. He tries to plead on behalf of his wife, but the monk perceives them to be evil and believes demons should not exist. They capture Shushan in hopes that the demons will come to rescue him. Verda and Blanca return to the village in search of Shushan. Sheriff Li, who tries to help his sister-in-law, tells them to leave as the people are after them. He still regards them as family and wouldn't betray them. Sheriff Li lets them know that Shushan had gone to the Jishan temple. Verda perceives this as a trap and asks that they forget about Shushan because he sold Blanca out to the monk. Sheriff Li defends his brother-in-law, saying Shushan loves Blanca. They can't defeat the monk because he is far more powerful than them. Because of this, Blanca goes on to dig out her hair ribbon. She remembers the vow she made and how she promised not to use magic again. Blanca sobs softly and then discovers that she is pregnant. Verda and Sheriff Li go on to rescue Shushan from his prison cell. Verda, who is very angry at Shushan, attacks him. She confronts him for selling out Blanca despite the love she has for him. Shushan lets him know that he will never harm his beloved wife. He also gets to find out that Blanca is pregnant. As they all proceed to go meet her, unfortunately, Monk Vahan sees them and goes after them with his beast. Shushan reunites with his wife Blanca. He promises that the child is going to come into this world peacefully. Just then, Monk Vahan shows up with his beast. He condemns the irregularity of humans and demons existing together, saying it violates the rules of heaven and earth. Verda also condemns him for being heartless, saying her sister has never hurt anyone. The monk lets Shushan know that he's been bewitched by Blanca's human form, and then reminds him of how almost died after seeing her as a giant snake. Blanca decides to transform into her original form. After seeing how scared Shushan was, she decides to leave. Shushan runs after her, reminding her of their vows to stay together forever. He gives an emotional speech that melts everyone except the monk. He is able to touch his beloved wife in her giant snake form. Monk Vahan isn't having any of this and proceeds to attack the duo. During a fierce battle, he is able to defeat Blanca, subduing her demon powers with his golden bowl. Just then, Shushan heroically begins to play the flute. The power from the flute is able to take down the beast, but then at the expense of Shushan's life. After he had successfully defeated the monk, he falls to the ground as a tearful Blanca rushes over to meet him. Monk Vahan, who isn't ready to accept defeat, then unleashes his ultimate power, but the baby in Blanca's belly is able to shield them from the attack. The monk realizes that Blanca is pregnant after seeing the Star of Mortal Incarnation. Verda quickly saves Blanca as they escape. The monk lets his Sheriff Li know that Shushan could be saved, although he used up all his vital essence in saving Blanca. Sheriff Li takes his brother-in-law back to the temple. Meanwhile, Verda and Blanca raise the newborn child. Blanca proceeds to visit the temple with her child during the Lad Fest. Verda, who noticed that Blanca had left hurriedly, rushes to meet her on the broken bridge. She promises to be by her side forever and invade the Jishan temple whenever she is ready. The end.